Hello you guys and welcome to my channel. So recently my husband and I met with a financial advisor slash financial planner person, and there were quite a few big takeaways that we both had from those meetings. It was various meetings and I wanted to kind of share that here. So first is, why did we meet with a financial advisor? For us, we had a baby last year and we just want to make sure we're doing everything in our power, everything that we can to save money for her, be able to have money while we're raising her. And a huge goal that we had in the past was to save a year's salary, have a year's salary in our bank account. And I made a whole video of our do's and don'ts, kind of little things that we did to help us achieve that. And I'll link that video down below. But now that we have that money in the account, we don't want it to just sit there. We'd like to, figure out what would work best for us to make that money grow over time. Like I said, with our baby, we want to make sure we have money for her. And if she wants to go to college, are we going to save, have a college fund for her? What does that look like with the future of our finances? We also wanted to make sure that we are doing everything we can to set ourselves up for success later. I know retirement seems so far away, and it is, but we want to make sure we're making the right decisions now to set us up later when we do reach retirement, because we both have relatives on the two extremes. There are some relatives who they set themselves up very well. Now that they're retired, they don't have to work and they don't have to worry about money. That money is continuing to grow in a 401k or a Roth or something. And then we have relatives in our family who did not plan for retirement. We have those kind of two extremes in our family, and we want to make sure we're doing everything that we can to set ourselves up for success in the future. So that's kind of why we met with a financial advisor. We want to make sure we're just doing the right things with our money to set ourselves up and also grow our money now. So I'm going to stop rambling and I'm going to get into my 4 big takeaways that I had when meeting with a financial advisor. The first takeaway is to start your retirement as soon as you possibly can. Retirement account, like a 401k, a Roth IRA, something like that, starting it as soon as you possibly can. I used to roll my eyes every time my dad talked about this, especially when I was in college and I was starting to intern places and they offered 401ks for working there full time, and I would just roll my eyes because retirement seemed so far away. But now I realized that he was right. He watches my videos, so Dad, you were right. It is so important to start when you're young because that money is going to grow over time and you won't have to play catch up later. So I started 401ks when I was fresh out of college / a little bit in college when I was working interning full time. So I had a job that I was interning and then I went full time after I graduated college, and that money, I worked there for about 5 or 6 years, and that money in that account is still there and it is still growing. So just having it in the beginning. Now I'm a full-time photographer, I'm a mom. I no longer have a new company matching any kind of retirement, but I do have that original account that I had with the original company, and the money's sitting there and it's growing over time. My husband works for a company who does the whole 401k thing, so he's doing that right now, and the projections of how much he will have saved if he just maintains his contributions right now is insane. It will be enough for us to retire on, which is crazy because you're not only thinking about today's dollars, you're thinking about future dollars, so you have to adjust for inflation and all that fun stuff. But if you start retirement now, you're giving that money opportunity to grow over time, basically your entire career. So you will have more money at the end of your career when you're ready to retire. Basically, start your retirement account now so you don't have to play catch up later. You don't have to contribute more and more and more towards the end of your career in order to be able to retire. So start it early, start it as soon as you can. And if you don't have a company, so like I said, I'm a full-time wedding photographer. I don't have a company's 401k that I'm contributing to anymore. There are Roth IRAs, there are private things that you can do. So definitely look into that. Maybe meet with a financial advisor or planner of your own and get more insight into that. But even if you're an independent contractor or a business owner or whatever it is, make sure you are starting and contributing to your retirement account now. The second big takeaway, we're still talking about retirement accounts here, okay? So it's always contribute what your company will match. That's at a minimum. Okay, so a lot of times companies will match your contribution up to a certain percent. So for example, if you contribute 3%, they will match that 3%. That's free money for you. You're contributing that money and they're just giving you free money on top of that, right? So they match your contribution. So obviously, budgets and how much you can contribute to your 401k and how much money you'll need on hand for like monthly expenses and all that will vary between people, but I would say at a minimum, do what your company matches, because otherwise you're leaving that money on the table. I say free money. Yes, you have to contribute your money, but you are getting that amount of money for free from your company. So we always said, like, at a minimum, whatever they will match, that's what we're going to contribute. And you can always go up from there if you want to. But I would just say, like, if your company will match 3% or up to 3%, do the 3% if possible, because otherwise you're leaving free money on the table. Just do it. And that was some advice that the financial advisor gave us, is to make sure that you are always contributing what your company matches so you get that money. The third thing is you can use credit cards to your advantage. So when we met with this financial advisor, we went over all of our debt, roughly how much we're spending every month and all of that fun stuff. And I mentioned that we have credit card debt, but it's not credit card debt where we charged thousands and thousands of dollars and maxed out all of our credit cards. We use credit cards on our everyday purchases, like things that we're not every day, but things that we were going to purchase anyway. So like gas, groceries, those kinds of things. We use our credit cards for those because we want to get the points to then redeem those points for other fun things. Most of the time it's travel. And the financial advisor that we met with actually said that is a great thing to do, as long as you're not maxing out your credit cards or buying things that you cannot afford. Like, don't do that with credit cards, okay? Buy things that you can afford with the credit cards and then pay them off and get those points. That's what we said that we're doing, and he was like, yeah, I think that's great. You're using credit cards the right way. And I really want to create a credit card video of like how we use our credit cards, why credit cards are good, because we have quite a few people in our lives that tell us credit cards are bad and like the interest rates are high, any debt of any kind is bad. And I really want to make a video about how we use our credit cards to our advantage, so stay tuned for that video. It will be coming eventually. The fourth and final takeaway from this meeting was your standard / cost of living will determine everything. Not just the future, but also the right now. How much you're spending every month with your cost of living or your standard of living. Obviously, cost of living will vary depending on where you live, right? If you live in a smaller town, the cost of living might be lower than if you live in a major city. So yes, cost of living is dependent on where you are, but your standard of living, that's what I'm gonna call it, is how much you're spending, your habits, your purchasing habits, all of that stuff, your budgeting, like that is kind of your standard of living. So if you're used to eating out every single day for lunch, which I know a lot of people do, my husband and I talk about it all the time, so many of our coworkers would eat out for lunch every single day. And if that is your standard of living, that's going to impact not only how much money you need to make in order to fund that every single day, but that is going to be your standard when you retire. So it's going to influence how much money you will need one day in order to retire. So the financial advisor told us this story about two of his clients. So basically he said he has this teacher and she saved, I think, like $1 or $2 million in her retirement account, and she can go ahead and retire because based on her cost and standard of living, she can now live on that $1 to $2 million. I forget exactly the amount, but it was like $1 or $2 million. So she can go ahead and retire. But he has another client who has saved $13 million in their retirement account, and they still cannot retire because of their standard of living. Your costs every single month, if you can't afford that on $13 million, then you cannot retire. What we took away from that is that we need to learn to live on less. And we do generally keep our expenses pretty low because we like to save money every single month. We don't want to break even. We don't want to be in the red. For us, we need to learn to live on less. We don't need to go shopping every single week or every single day. We need to limit our online purchases. Living on less and making more conscious decisions with your money is not only going to help you right now, like with your savings and how much you are able to buy right now, but it's going to influence your ability to retire one day. Because if your expenses are really, really high every single month, you're going to need more money to retire in order to pay for that. It all makes sense, right, with math? So I just think learn to live on less. Try to lower your standard and cost of living as much as you can. Obviously, I'm not saying to be a minimalist. I'm not saying to never go on a trip, never eat out, never get a fun coffee. My husband and I, we go on trips. We travel, we eat out, we do normal, regular things. I'm speaking more about limiting those purchases, being more conscious of those purchases, and not let your finances kind of get out of control now, because like I said, it's gonna affect how you live today, but also in the future one day and your ability to retire. Because I don't know about you, but as soon as I can retire, I'm doing it. The earliest you can do is 59 and a half or something, but I'm doing it. As soon as I can retire, I'm doing it. And I don't think anybody else wants to continue to work because they have to if they could retire. There are some people out there, I've worked with them, who just love working and they want to work and they could retire but they don't because they love it, and that's totally fine. More power to you. I'm more thinking about people who physically could not retire because they don't have enough money and now they have to continue to work in order to retire one day, and I don't want that to be us. And I want to make choices now, so hopefully that is not us in the future, that we have to continue to work in our golden years because we could not afford to retire. I have to say, not that there's anything wrong with it. Like I said earlier in this video, I have relatives who have to do that. I have relatives who did not plan for their retirement, who have to worry about money, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with them. I'm not saying that they didn't prepare enough or whatever. Like, the economy is crazy. I think we all can agree on that. So I'm not saying like anything's wrong with anybody who's working in retirement at all. I'm just trying to say, as a younger person, I'm just trying to relay messages that really spoke to me when meeting with this advisor, that if I can make decisions now to hopefully reduce the chance of that later, I'm going to do that now. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just telling you what I thought. Just telling you what my thoughts coming out of the meeting were, my takeaways. I hope it helps you. That's all we're trying to do here. It's all love. I just wanted to relay those messages when meeting with the financial advisor, so maybe this helps somebody and let us all retire at the appropriate age and not, work until we're all dead, Like that's what I want for you. I don't want you to work until you're dead. But that's gonna be it for today's video. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!